You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode.
Time to play Is It Gerry Anderson in Fab Facts.
We're dealing with a rat infestation in the Randomiser.
And Malcolm Garrett is back for an encore.
Core! Oh, that's all coming up in Pod 198.
Of the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Encore, encore, encore. That's what all the fans have been saying for Malcolm Garrett.
Yes, they have for Malcolm Garrett, yes.
Yeah, but not for you and I.
No, they've been saying a little less, please. A bit more him, little less of you.
Yeah, well, the two who you're currently hearing, who hopefully you'll hear less of somehow through this, certainly by the end of it, well, him giggling over there like a nutter is Richard James.
Yes, hello, and him over there coming over all professional all of a sudden, Jamie Anderson.
Yes, it's all an act, as well you know. Professional doesn't really come into my sphere. And over there...
Oh, yes.
Surrounded by an impossible pile of chocolate bars.
Yes, what is all that? Where? What's he doing?
And he's unwrapping them frantically and not even eating them. It's Chris Dale.
It's Chris Dale.
Chris is best known as the Randomiser, but every week he seems to find himself doing all sorts of bizarre things. And this week, I mean, he's deep in concentration. He's not even looking up when I'm calling out his name. But yes, he must have 2,000 chocolate bars there.
I mean, is he looking for a golden ticket or something? I've no idea what he's doing.
Maybe. I mean, Chris, you can't. If it's for the concert, you don't need. He's not paying attention. Don't worry, he's not paying attention. We'll see what he's up to later on in the podcast. At the end of this podcast, Chris will present his section called The Randomiser, where he watches a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson series and says fantastically interesting and hilarious things about it. And he does that without fail every week.
Yes, he does. Yeah, incredible.
But Richard, my esteemed co-host, actor, mimic, writer, bubble blower, dribbler, all those things and many more. What else is coming up in this 198th edition of the weekly Gerry Anderson podcast?
Well, as we close in fast on our special 200th podiversary, we've got all the usual gubbins this week. Of course we have. We've got Fab Facts in just a little while. I say that with a laugh in my voice because I know I won't be laughing when you do it. We've got news from the Gerry Anderson universe. I reckon it's quite a good week for Gerry Anderson news. That's just
we're
what
closing
I feel
in
my water.
We're closing in on some special dates and some special things. So yes, there absolutely will be some cool stuff coming up.
Exactly, that's right. We've got the third part of your interview, Jamie, with, he said, scrolling back through the script, all of a sudden, Malcolm Garrett.
Even though you've already mentioned Malcolm several times at this point.
I knew that. I knew it, but it just slipped my mind for a moment. So Malcolm Garrett is back for the third part of his interview. And, of course, on top of all that, our wonderful podstrons have been getting in touch in the only way they know how. In fact, there are several ways. Email podcast@gerryanderson.com. On Twitter, you can hashtag us Gerry Anderson Podcast, and you can join our Facebook group and post your comments and reviews and pictures there too. And I shall be reading out a few of those wonderful messages as we go along.
Oh, very much looking forward to it, yes. I was trying to explain to an upcoming interviewee, actually, about the podstrons and the name podstron, and they thought it was marvellous. And I said they are marvellous.
Yeah, well, they are marvellous, yes. Yeah. But did you also mention that for a little while, Podleys was also an option?
This person was not that big a fan of Gerry Anderson stuff, and so I think then trying to explain Space Precinct, that's like going back in time and trying to, explain smartphones to a Victorian.
To a Neanderthal, yes.
Well, that would be even harder.
Or a Victorian, yes. No, I take your point, yeah.
Anyway, should we move on from this nonsense?
Yeah, I think we ought to, yes.
I think it's time we get into the meat and gubbins, or meat and potatoes, I suppose, is the real thing, which obviously is Fab Facts.
Obviously.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
This is the section where every week Richard pretends to not like what I'm going to say.
Every week.
When secretly he goes off afterwards and rubs his hands with glee, because without fail every week we give you a fab fact, which is mostly fab and occasionally meh. But I'm sure this week will be fab. I've got a book of fab facts. I'm going to flick through it like that, but slightly slower. Richard's going to shout fab at a random point, which will stop me at a random place in the book, and then I will give you a fab fact from that page. Richard James, are you ready?
Born ready.
Oh, God, that was such a big dramatic pause. I thought we'd been disconnected for a moment, but no, it was just drama. That's the power of acting for you, Podstrons.
Right there.
Here we go with the flicking. Off we go.
Fab!
Ooh, you left it late there.
I did, yes. I went late, yes.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it, but there's a picture of Joe 90.
Of course there is.
It's not that era, but there are random pictures sprinkled throughout the book. Mm-hmm. So, Richard.
Yeah.
You know what they say?
What about us? Yeah, I heard that. I don't believe a word of it, though.
No, not that. It's a more general thing that's said of imitation. And they say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Flattery, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Dad used to say that he wasn't afraid of people copying his style of puppet films because making them was so bloody hard.
Yeah, sure.
Now, of course, that doesn't mean that there weren't quite a few people who tried along the way. Roberta Lee's Space Patrol, obviously, which was produced with Arthur Provis, Dad's ex-business partner, when they parted around the beginning of Four Feather Falls, and Arthur went off to work with Roberta. And that was released around the same time as Fireball XL5, and it shares, as well, if you've seen it, you'll know, quite a few similarities with the authentic Anderson series.
Okay, yeah.
They feel quite similar. A South African series from the 1980s called Interstir, which was never translated into English, but some episodes are on YouTube with English subtitles, so you can give that one a go.
Right.
But one show which did imitate his work, that he was very much aware of, was something called Starfleet.
Ah, right.
Now, do you know anything about Starfleet?
Well, I think I've certainly heard the name bandied around amongst certain circles, yes.
We're going to bandy it around a bit more here.
Yeah, go on.
Let me tell you a little bit about Starfleet. Well, it was produced in Japan in 1980 as X-Bomber, but it didn't get translated and broadcast in the UK until 1982. Mm-hmm. Starfleet is probably best described as a sort of anime version of Star Wars, made with Supermarionation style puppets instead of 2D animation. One notable difference was that the entire series of 24 episodes was a serial story, more in the style of modern TV than the self-contained episodic style favoured by Lou Grade in order to ease the process of syndication, because obviously then you have to show it in order if it's a serial.
Yeah.
Dad was interviewed for a 2008 documentary about Starfleet, and he complimented the rod puppetry technique that they used. Louis Ellman, I think it's Louis rather than Lewis, who supervised the UK dub, pointed out what Gerry Anderson fans will already have noticed, that Starfleet was coming out at the same time as Terrorhawks was being made.
Yes.
So Dad might have been concerned about it being competition.
Yes.
However, by the time that Terrorhawks was on the air, all the puppets and sets from Starfleet had been destroyed in an accidental warehouse fire. It was accidental.
Hang on.
Yes, come on. Yeah, there's no arson going on here, sir.
No, right, fair enough.
But Starfleet is often mistaken for an Anderson production, particularly because of Denise Breyer's voice as the lead villain, Commander Makara.
Really?
But if you pull out the DVDs, you'll find it's very different from any Anderson show. It's kind of different style, different speed. The special effects aren't anywhere near as good, I humbly say, but because I think they shot everything at normal speed. They didn't overcrank the cameras to get that kind of weighty stuff going on. But we'd love to know what you think. Are you a Starfleet fan? Or does it not compare with the likes of Terrorhawks? Well, you can hear my thoughts on an archive episode of The Benji and Nick Show.
So I remember that.
Search for Benji and Nick Show Terrorhawks, or Starfleet even, you'll find it there, I think.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. I mean, we consider, don't we, that Gerry Anderson was the originator of Supermarionation style puppetry. Don't really consider that, of course, anyone could have done it, really, couldn't they? I mean, I know they had the sort of technical issues to overcome, but there was nothing to stop any other production company doing something similar, was there? No. It's a wonder, in a way, that more of them didn't do it.
Well, I think it's because it was so tricky and so expensive to make it look good. And, Roberta and Arthur's Space Patrol has got a charm of its own, but it pales into comparison in terms of the technical achievement, I think, of Fireball XL5. And the only other time we really saw it in modern days, certainly while Dad was alive, was Team America.
Sure.
Which was not done out of a sort of, what a lovely style to replicate. They just wanted to make it as ridiculous as possible. Whatever people think, as far as Stone and Parker were concerned, it really wasn't a homage to Anderson things. It was just, hey, this thing's really weird, we should make it like that.
That's right.
So it's a real rarity to see it mimicked, but Starfleet's got a charm of its own. But have you seen it, Podstrons? Let us know through all the usual channels that Richard has already previously mentioned in this podcast.
There we are. Now, are we aware of any of his sort of live action shows or any other shows that were maybe slightly copied elsewhere? I mean, is there a sort of, I don't know, a Japanese version of Space 1999 or that's just different enough? No, I suppose not. No, that's
they
true.
Just took the dubbed version. I mean, there are a few things that feel like they have their roots in an Anderson show. I mean, I suppose even something like Octonauts, the CBeebies show, is a bit like kind of Thunderbirds meet Stingray underwater with kind of animals. So there are lots of things around that I'm sure have at least taken inspiration, if not a little bit more, from a Gerry Anderson show. But Starfleet's one of the few that gets mistaken for it.
Yeah, interesting.
There you go. We look forward to hearing your thoughts, Podstrons, on Starfleet and all other things. But until next week, that's the end of this week's
Copy Fact.
Oh dear, I just mumbled something there.
Through.
Yeah, because I thought you were going to go for Starfleet Fact, but Copy Fact was probably better, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm waiting though for a fab fact that features a fax, so that we can have fact.
I was going to just go Fab Facts, of course.
Oh,
but
all Fab Facts, yes.
Well, facts.
Really
Facts.
Yeah. Anyway, you might have noticed that you're listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. Of course you are, and why wouldn't you be? Now, if you are, it's a very easy thing just to subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on, whichever planet, I almost said, that you're listening to us from. Just subscribe, yes, and you'll get a little notification every time a new episode appears. And also, of course, you can leave us a rating or a review and copy and paste the link to all your social media profiles so that your friends can listen too. Now, we have, of course, as usual, had a bumper crop of messages from our wonderful Podstrons. So, Jamie, would you like to hear some emails?
Of course you would. Nothing more.
See, thought you might. This one, for example, is from Becca, who says, "Dear chaps, I hope you're all well."
Yes, thank you.
I'm
pretty good.
I'm pretty good, yeah. Just a quick email, says Becca, to say how much I love the podcast, and recently I've been enjoying going back and listening again to past episodes. Yes, a lot of people I know do this. She says, I love the interviews with Nick Briggs and Leo Eaton in particular. Can't remember if it was pod 122 or 123, but the sound effect of Jamie's cockerel crowing at 120 FPS reminded me of the eerie, otherworldly theme from Thunderbird 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Becca says, along with many other people, can't wait for Standby for Action, the concert, plus the live Uncharted documentary and live podcast next month. Keep up the fab work. Best wishes from Becca.
Well, thank you, actually.
Yes, this one's from Jay, who says, hello again, Jamie, Richard and Chris.
Hello.
In advance of the exciting times coming up this spring, what with the film premieres, Pod 200, and the live podcast get-togethers leading up to our amazing Birmingham concert, I thought I would do some research into the wobbly-wobbly, timey-wimey facts. Apologies for that bit of franchise jumping, he says, but if we're honest, it's not exactly unusual amongst us now, is it? He says, now, on the day of release of Pod 200, which is scheduled for April the 11th, 2022... the time that would have passed since the first ever edition of the Gerry Anderson podcast, the Randomiserless prequel show, which was released on June the 18th, 2018, will be 1,394 days.
Right.
Jay continues, whilst I'm very quick to point out that it seems like only yesterday I was listening to the first podcast very early in the morning en route to a family airport pickup, and it doesn't seem a day too long, it got me thinking, how long does that time span relate to the supermarionation era of the 1960s? I mean, it's something we've all been thinking, isn't it? We've often wondered that.
Yes, so constantly.
Luckily,
finally be able to sleep at night.
Jay has sprung to our rescue. He says, here's a question for the Podsterons. Which is the longer? The time from the first podcast to now, say Pod 200, or the time from the first UK broadcast of Stingray to the first UK broadcast of original Captain Scarlet?
Oh.
That's tricky, isn't it?
Yes, I think I know the answer, though.
The answer is, from the first Stingray to the first Captain Scarlet broadcast, it's 1,151 days, so the podcast has been going longer. In fact, 1,151 days from the first podcast would have taken us to pod 165.
Wow.
That's the interview with David Munday, part 1, in August 2021. Anyway, says Jay, I can't wait until all the podstrons can meet up together in a few short weeks from now. All the best, Jay.
Gosh.
Yes.
Well, there we go. So the pod length is bigger than the sting gap.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Would
right.
never have guessed
And that's
that.
the first time those words have ever been used in the same sentence. I mean, are we now, Jamie, the longest ever Gerry Anderson production? Can we claim that? Certainly in terms of episodes, we are.
In terms of episodes, I'm pretty sure we are, yes.
Well, there you go.
Well done, us.
All the way from China, it's Paul Hyder, who says, Hi, J and R. If every region in the UK has their own spectrum agent, or spectrum captain, yes, this was covered a couple of podcasts ago, then covering all of China, he says, is going to be a huge task.
Oh, yes, big time.
But, he says, step forward, Captain Shin Hong, China's
Oh.
very own Captain Scarlet.
Ah.
Yes, he says he'd tie in perfectly with China's love of the patriotic colour red. Now, he said, if only there was a Chinese word for retro-metabolism. All the best, and that's from Paul Hyder in China. Great, isn't that good?
Well, surely it must be possible to make it up. You know, compound it from retro and metabolism in Chinese.
Retro-metabolism,
I mean, I don't know what those words
Paul.
are.
Think about it.
Over to you, Paul.
That's right, yeah. Exactly. On a similar theme, Chris Yost has got in touch. Say, gang, he says, as we and the teeming millions are fans of the late, great Barry Gray, how about a re-release of his album Stand By for Adverts, the compilation of all the advertising music he wrote?
Not up to us, so not something we can do because of the ownership
right.
of said music. But
Gosh, yes.
you never know.
But it's a minefield.
Perhaps Stand By for Action's release and what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Happening.
Yeah, success, I think is the word you're looking for.
Of course, success
Yeah,
might inspire some more Barry Gray releases. Who knows?
Yes. And going back to the Spectrum Captain field agents, he then comments, he's from Western Pennsylvania, which he says is under the command of Captain Plaid.
Captain
I mean, that's
Plaid.
a uniform I'd like to see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps that's what you can wear for our live podcast recording.
Right, okay. There's a challenge. And finally, for now, Duncan Moss has got in touch to say, Hi, Jamie and Richard. After a painful and unsuccessful attempt to bid for a John Waddington Thunderbirds Letraset on eBay, is it possible that Gerry Anderson Letraset's action transfers could be reissued? I think John Waddington still exists and Letraset definitely does. I think action transfers were a bit before Jamie and maybe Richard's time, but they were massively good fun and I can never understand why they stopped making them. Looking forward to the concert. Kind regards from Duncan Moss. Now, unless I'm mistaken, that sounds a bit like where you'd get a panorama, a cardboard panorama in a sort of a gatefold design, which would open out, and then you'd have a sheet of transfer figures, which you would then rub onto that panorama to make your very own action scene.
Yes.
Do you remember those?
No.
So they are before your time, but I distinctly remember them, particularly Star Wars, and you could get dinosaur ones and all sorts of different periods in history. Yeah.
Gosh, no,
Nice.
they sound very cool, but they sound quite expensive to make, as in the manufacturing, the machine, the cutting dies and all that sort of stuff for those bits and pieces. They must have to have a minimum run of, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000.
Yes, sure.
And to guarantee that number of sales today of that kind of thing, I think it's not going to happen, Duncan. I'm really sorry. It's just too niche, as lovely as they are. And they do turn up occasionally. And I think you have to forgive me, I've forgotten the lovely chap's name, but somebody very kindly supplied Network with a letter set of Stingray, the Stingray font, for some accuracy there. So that was rather exciting.
Yeah.
So yes, they are very cool, but hard to get hold of, and probably not to be repeated, I'm afraid.
And I bet there were Gerry Anderson Shrinky Dinks, weren't there, back in the day? I never saw them, but I bet there were. Do you know what a Shrinky Dink is?
I don't. I've heard the name, and I feel like it should be your nickname now.
Oh, that's torn it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shrinky Dinks, well, it's a sheet of some sort of strange, waxy, I guess it was kind of plasticky paper with your favourite characters from various TV shows sort of printed on. And you could even draw your own. And then you would sort of cut them out, put them on a baking tray, sounds ridiculous, put them in the oven, and they'd shrink to make these little figures that you could then turn into badges or, stand-up figures or whatever you fancied, yeah. And you could actually buy the sheets blank, so you could just draw your own. Of course, I made TARDISes and K9s and things. Yeah, I made cute little brooches.
Oh, lovely. No, I was not aware that was even a thing.
Ah, there you go. Every day's a school day on the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Quite right, too.
Talking of school day, I think it's probably time that I had a rest and had a little sip of milk through a straw that my teachers very kindly provided.
Yes.
Had a little bit of quiet time, because that's it from the emails. But do keep them coming in at podcast@gerryanderson.com, particularly, as we know, because there's so much coming up. Do let us know, where are we going to see you?
Yes.
Where are we going to see you? Because I know a lot of you are coming to the concerts and the live podcasts and the BFI screenings and the screenings in Birmingham. So what are you seeing over the next 2 or 3 weeks? Let us know.
If you're not coming, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some pretty, understandable reasons why people may not come.
Yes, they're abroad or on rescue missions or undercover for Spectrum. I understand all those things, but we'd love to see you if you can make it to any of the things which I'm about to talk about in the Gerry Anderson news. Shall I go directly into said Gerry Anderson news, Richard? Would that be nice?
Yes, go on. Okay. Yes, let's not hang about.
Here's the Gerry Anderson news. Yes, it is, as usual, the Gerry Anderson newsy
news. As usually use. Newsy news. As usual. News.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks.
Seamless as well. So that's great. Well done, Richard James. Now, because the next couple of weeks are so crazy with Anderson stuff.
Wow.
I just thought I'd give you a rundown of what's coming up, what to expect, how to be part of it, and to hopefully get you excited for what will be the most Gerry Anderson-y time of the year so far.
Great.
Now, we are just over a week and a bit out from the BFI premiere of Gerry Anderson, A Life Uncharted. Have you seen that lovely little clip of David Graham reading the inscription in the Gerry Anderson biography he's got? Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
It's wonderful, isn't it? Lovely.
It is lovely. Now, lots of people have started doing reviews, so hopefully in the next few weeks you'll see some articles coming out. We've spoken to TV Choice and The Observer, Radio Times, SFX, many others, and they'll give you a hint of what you can expect. It's a very emotional story, but something which I think will make you fall in love even more with the world of Gerry Anderson, I hope. And we'd love to see it at the BFI at the 9th of April, 3 p.m. There are a few tickets still available, and there'll be. I'll be there. You'll be there, won't you, Richard James?
I'll be there, certainly. Yeah.
Director Benjamin Field will be there. Lots of other people from Anderson Entertainment. So we'd love to see you if you could make it. It'll be a right jolly, and we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. So that'll be lovely. You can ask your questions about stuff that didn't make it to the documentary, observations we've made, thoughts, reflections, how we did things, all that kind of stuff.
Great.
We'd love to answer you. Now, after the 9th, we're heading straight for Gerry Anderson Day, which is on the 14th. Then, of course, the release of the documentary proper on BritBox and hopefully some other platforms around the world. And then the concert on the Saturday. So, Gerry Anderson Day itself, the 14th, is very, very much focused on the release of the documentary, talking about what we've learned, celebrating Dad and all the teams he worked with, all the wonderful people he worked with and the shows that he produced. Richard and I, and hopefully Chris Dale and possibly some others, will also bring you a special edition of Fab Live.
Ah, yes! Fab Live.
We don't yet have an exact time. I suspect it'll be 6 or 6:30 p.m. on the 14th.
Okay. Right.
And we'll bring you an hour of entertainment. Well, we'll bring you an hour of Fab Live.
We'll bring you an hour.
We'll bring you an hour. We'll steal an hour from you. And then at the end of it, if you're in the UK, what I'm suggesting is we come to the very end, we'll do a countdown, and we can all watch Gerry Anderson Life Uncharted on BritBox together. Now, if you're going to wait to sign up to BritBox on the day so you can get a free week or a free month, whatever they're offering at the time, then no better time to do it than during Fab Live, because obviously then that'll keep you entertained while Richard and I fail to.
True.
Yes. And then we'll do a bit of a tweet along that evening. So exact times and stuff to be announced, but there will be a Fab Live. It would be nice to do that again because we haven't done one for ages, have we?
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yes. Yeah. Nice.
Now, off the back of our Fab Live and Gerry Anderson Day celebrations on the 14th, On the 15th at 8 p.m. at the Electric Cinema in Birmingham, we've got a screening of Gerry Anderson Life Uncharted with a Q&A afterwards hosted by the lovely John Culshaw, which will be very exciting. Tickets are sold out for that. However, this week we are running a competition where you can win tickets to this and to the concert. So have a look on the Gerry Anderson website for details there. You just enter your email and you can get more chances to win by sharing on social and doing all sorts of other goodies like that. And that also, that trip includes all the tickets to all the stuff that's happening in Birmingham over the weekend and accommodation too. So there's a nice treat. If you haven't been able to make it and you know things are a bit tight and you think you wish you could go, then at least we're giving somebody a chance to do that.
Absolutely.
So on the 16th of April, my mind is awash with all these things because it's so exciting. 16th of April, we continue our massive Gerry Anderson Fest from 2 p.m. with a live podcast at the Electric in Birmingham. Tickets still available, but we must be down to the last 4 or 5, I think, now.
Yes, a handful, I think.
Yeah,
yes.
so we'd love to see you there. There will also be a special strung guest making a brief appearance, I believe.
Right, highly strung.
Well, yes, that's
Chris Dale
for you.
Yes. He's not highly strung.
No, they'll be other special guests.
That was a joke.
Hilarious joke. More on that very soon, and more ghosts. No, more guests as well.
Right.
I almost said goats, but I guarantee there are no goats coming.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if you were to bring a couple of those.
Yeah. No. So that's a 90-minute recording at 2 p.m. on the 16th. After that, about 4 o'clock is a screening of the 1966 movie Thunderbirds Are Go, to get you in the mood for all things Anderson that evening, and then stand by for action at 7:30 p.m. at the Birmingham Symphony Hall. And there are some tickets still available. You can go to ander.sn/tickets, andr.sn/tickets to book those. Now, I'm almost there, I promise, because it's very exciting and there's a lot of stuff happening. Now, we have had endless requests. We've been inundated with requests from people saying, I can't make the concert because I live, on Moonbase Alpha. I'm currently on a NASA research base on Mars, or I'm on a mission on a special probe to the sun.
Or we've been transferred to a different precinct.
Absolutely, exactly. Recently moved to Demeter City. So I understand all those reasons why you can't make it. But all of you have been saying, please, please, please record the concert. Please make it available. Well, your wish is my command.
Well done.
We have made arrangements to record the concert in audio and video format.
Great.
And from this Friday, for those who can't make the event or who can and want to commemorate it, we are putting up for pre-order DVDs, Blu-rays, and hopefully soundtracks, which you can grab. Make sure you can bag them now, so they'll be delivered as soon as they're ready, which I would imagine will be end of May or early June by the time all the sounds mix and the edits are done. But you can pre-order those, and there will also be a limited number of programs, so special souvenir programs, which will be sold on the night, but those that are remaining from that print run will be sold on the website too, so you can pre-order some of those as well. So even if you're not able to get there, you won't miss out. You'll still get to experience it, and we'll try and make those as available as possible to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So more news on that from the end of this week, but I'm very excited that we're actually going to be able to preserve it and share it with the world in that way, because it's going to be rather special.
It really is,
Yeah. So there you go. Oh dear, I'm absolutely exhausted at the thought of it, and we haven't even done it yet.
No.
So it's time for me to take a rest now. That's definitely the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. Exhausting news. I mean, the weird thing is, of course, being an actor, work comes and goes, and I have quiet periods and busy periods, and that's okay. So I'm in the middle of a bit of a quiet period at the moment, so my calendar's been quite empty. But April, there's something just about every other day, Gerry Anderson related, on my calendar throughout the month of April.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I am also in a very similar place to you.
So how are you going to feel on April the 17th?
I'm not sure I'll feel anything. I think I shall be totally numb and exhausted. But
we'll be tucking into our Sunday brunch, won't we, Jamie?
Oh, we will.
And reflecting on a good weekend.
A Team Anderson brunch. Oh, I can't wait for that. That's going to be lovely. Well, I have a feeling there may be a few hangovers around that day.
Oh, you might be right. Now, over on our Facebook group, we'll have no such things as hangovers over there, because they're all very sober, very sensible. No, they're not that sensible, actually. All sorts of daft stuff goes on over there. People posting pictures of their merch, pictures of their cosplay, their own artwork sometimes, asking silly questions of each other, keeping their peckers up, dare I say, which is what we need more of. Nick Cave, for example, posted, I've watched all the tech talks about Thunderbirds and I'm a new fan of the Pathfinder. What a machine! I didn't know all the different things it could do. So the tech talks can be found on our YouTube channel, of course.
Yes, absolutely. YouTube.com/Gerry Anderson TV.
Yep, going down great guns over there. Also, Pen Quiller has posted, I'm currently reading Total War, a book produced by the Imperial War Museum to accompany their World War II exhibition, and I came across the name Joan Hughes. Now, says Pen, Joan Hughes sounded familiar, and I remembered that she was the pilot who flew the Tiger Moth under the bridge on the M40 during the filming of Thunderbird 6. Reading this, she says she sounds a remarkable woman. Extraordinary. I'd like to know a bit more about her. It's funny how that story's running and running. A week or a couple of weeks ago, we had someone who actually found Thunderbird 6 in an airfield near me at White Baltham, and you can book it for a considerable sum for a flight. Hannah posted, I've just listened to the latest podcast and I thought for a moment that this week's randomizer was going to be trapped in the sky, but I guess we still have to wait for that day. Hannah says, are there any episodes that you, Podstrons, are looking forward to hearing on the randomizer? Don Riley posted, I'm looking forward to Terror in New York City, as it's my favourite episodes of Thunderbirds. Hugh Moore says, I'd love to hear Chris's views on the opening Captain Scarlet episode, The Mysterons, on the randomizer. I'm eagerly waiting for this day to come. And Alex Patrick said, I'm looking forward to Thunderbirds, The Mighty Atom, for some reason. Yeah. So do you have a favourite Anderson episode that's yet to be covered by the randomizer, and are you looking forward to its appearance? Let us know what that episode is at podcast@gerryanderson.com. Wayne Oates says, any love for the original Space Police pilot film out there? I have to say, I'm a bit obsessed with it.
I love it. It was great. I must have watched that 100 times when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, because he had several U-matic copies of it, and I would often just go into Dad's office and load up the tape and just sit there and watch it because it was kind of cool.
I mean, it's what's the wonderful thing, or one of the many wonderful things about the sort of the Anderson fandom, is that even something that was never broadcast has its own followers and people who love it. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah,
I quite like that. Jack McMorrow says, now I see it is aspiring for the full truth, as I was sure it would be, but I'm tired of self-aggrandizing hagiography documentaries which certain other companies put out after running quite some time. I simply cannot wait to see A Life Uncharted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, is it the full truth? I suppose it's getting close, but one can never have the full truth, of course, because the truth is just other people's stories, isn't it? Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, it's we've made it as balanced as possible, and actually had an interview the other day with a journalist who was reviewing it, and he said he was amazed by how balanced he felt the whole thing was, which is a real. Actually, that's a big compliment to Ben Field, the director, because Ben has pushed and pushed and pushed to make sure that this is balanced, because it contains honest, direct stories from Dad about very challenging times in his life. So obviously. You then have to find a way to counter that, and to give other people's perspectives. And I think we've got there, but I look forward to you Podstrons being the judge of that in due course. Exactly. Yes, we will know soon enough. And finally, on our Facebook group, this is rather nice from Alex Pass, Big Al, who says, I was watching an episode of Thunderbirds the other day on the This Is Super Marination compilation, and that got me thinking, what episodes would I put into a wider-ranging Worlds of Gerry Anderson compilation? Not necessarily a best of, more a start with this and see what takes your fancy collection. So he suggests episodes from the following: Four Feather Falls, Gunfight on Main Street; Supercar, Trapped in the Depths; Fireball XL5, Hypnotic Sphere; Stingray, the pilot episode; Thunderbirds, Terror in New York City; Captain Scarlet, Place of Angels; Joe 90, Most Special Agent; Secret Service, A Case for the Bishop; UFO Identified; Space 1999, Voyager's Return; Terrorhawks, Gunfight at Oki's Corral; Space Precinct, Protect and Survive; Lavender Castle, the Galactanet, and New Captain Scarlet, Swarm. He says, what do you think, Podstrons? Are there any others that you would have picked instead? That's a good thought, isn't it? How you would introduce all the various series. And someone else commented, I can't remember, I think it was Miles Parrish, who said, so actually what we're looking for is not necessarily the best of each of those series, but the best way in to each of those series. Yes, the best entry point. The thing that's probably the most representative, but it's not restrictive if you don't know the setup or the pilot of the show. So exactly. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so thanks for that, Alex, and thank you for all your postings over on our Facebook group. It's very easy to join in. Just go to facebook.com/groups/Podstrons, answer a few questions, we'll let you in, and you can join in the fun. Yes. And enjoy it. You can enjoy it and join in. Oh, enjoying it. Yes, that. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, do that because it is the one of the most friendly places on all of the internet.
Indeed.
Past,
Indeed.
present, or future, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I think it's time we turn our attention to an interview, don't you?
Okay. Yeah, go on then.
Well, I mean, Malcolm Garrett's been here for the last 2 weeks, and this is his last hurrah.
Right, okay.
It's part 3 of 3. I'm sure all of you know now, but Malcolm is a Gerry Anderson superfan, and he's a graphic designer of much note.
Indeed.
He had so much interesting stuff to say. We had to cut this interview into 3 parts, and here is the third of those 3. So here's Malcolm Garrett, the third, or part 3, I guess. Yes. If you had to pick one particular logo or emblem or title treatment as not necessarily your favourite, but perhaps the most emblematic of the style of that era.
I mean, the Spectrum logo is really good.
Yeah.
The Spectrum. I have a patch of that I'm going to sew onto my denim jacket.
Excellent.
and I'm sort of torn between, should I or shouldn't I? But anyway, so that's really good. But I did always love the Century 21 Productions logo.
Yeah.
That's and that by default that sums everything up.
It does. Good choice.
Going back to TV 21, even the date was 100 years in the future.
Yes.
It was the right date. It was 12th of February, 2122. It would be 100 years from now.
Yeah, no, there was quite amazing the way they managed to basically feed every one of your senses.
Yes.
The TV shows had your eyes and your ears kept busy.
Yes.
The toys and the comics gave you everything else, kind of tactility, I'm sure. Well,
Absolutely.
I know lots of people, they sniffed their budgie supercar, for example. Comic artist Lee Sullivan, who was a very early guest in this podcast 100 and something things ago. Yeah, he still now has got his budgie supercar, and that kind of vinyl plastic has got a very particular nostalgic smell.
That's the one I
thought
had.
You'd be jealous. Sorry,
I did. Yeah,
I'm
it was
sure
and
Lee
it had
will let
the
you
yellow
sniff his
plastic
budgie.
wings that pulled out, and the transparent top you could take off.
That's it.
I don't think it had any characters in it. I don't either that, or I lost them straight away.
Yeah, I'm sure Lee talked about that. I feel like there was one, or maybe there was a reissue with like a little plastic Mike Mercury in there. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
also the names. The names are great. Mike Mercury, Steve Zodiac. Troy Tempest.
Yes.
And then even the going after the American market, subliminally naming the Tracy brothers after the astronauts, after the Mercury astronauts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no detail left unturned to mix metaphors.
Yes. No, but you're absolutely right. There was something, it's a combination of twee is not the right word, but a cuteness and a heightened almost campness to some of the worlds and the characters, combined with that not talking down thing, which is Dad's
Professor Mathematic. Matthew Matic.
I know the gag names, which dripped away a little bit as the shows went on, and they they aged them up.
Maybe your dad was growing up.
I think he was trying to make that transition towards live action, wasn't he, and towards the more adult, and which he did. You mentioned Terrorhawks. I mean,
yes.
Because in terms of your era, your generation, a lot of people would get to space and be like, right, I'm grown up now. I've got other things to think about, job, girlfriends, whatever. So did Terrorhawks just pop back on your radar?
Yeah, I remember it starting, and there was the general consensus that it was a kind of return to form. It's like, they made a couple of kind of, iffy albums and taken a bit of time off, and then come back to the studio reinvigorated and made an album, that's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is like the old stuff.
Yeah.
They were the comparisons you could make. So it was good. Zelda, the little circular robots, and yeah. I mean, I don't remember too much about it, other than I remember it coming back, and I remember watching it, and I remember thinking, yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah. I've always got a fondness for Terrorhawks, but it often gets left behind because at the end of that era.
I know that. That's just why I kind of made a point of mentioning it.
Well, bless you for mentioning it. Now, so you said you started picking up these annuals again, pretty early on.
Yeah,
and I know that I'm not going to say obsessive behavior, but that collector in you has only evolved.
Collecting behavior, yes.
So tell me about what has happened there, Malcolm.
Well, what's happened is I mentioned earlier my strong relationship with Manchester School of Art, and in 2012, which was the sort of lead up to the anniversary in 2013, I got into conversation with David Crow, the dean, and I mentioned that I'd got this huge collection. I also had other collections. I sort of collect collections. I'd been collecting memorabilia from the New York World's Fair of 1939, for instance, and I had a large collection of that. But we'll park that for this conversation because that could go down a different road. And I mentioned to David that as I lay in bed, the bookshelves on my alongside, along the bedroom wall were packed with the spines of these annuals and these booklets. I mean, I'd also been collecting James Bond novels, all 14 James Bond novels in different editions. I've been collecting, all sorts of stuff. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I had a lot of I think there are 15 Man from U.N.C.L.E. novels. And I knew I was missing one because I had 13 and 15, but I didn't have 14. Ooh. And it's a long time, 20 years I was looking for a number 14. And I had all these collections. And one morning I woke up and I looked at them and it's the early 2000s. And as I said, I've been collecting since 1978. So I thought some of these books have not been taken off the shelf for 20 years, literally, which is sort of, is sad in a way. And long story short, I got to know that David told me that in Manchester Metropolitan University, which is the overall body for Manchester School of Art, there is a special collections museum, which is currently housed in the third floor of the library. So it's a bit obscure. And they have lots of collections that have been donated to them, or the collections related to the history of the School of Art or the School of Architecture. And in my misconception, I thought it was part of the library. And I thought, I've got all these books. Perhaps the special collections, as it was called then, it wasn't called museum, although it was a museum. I thought special collections might want my collection of books. And then we went through a kind of a period of toing and froing where we were misunderstanding one another, because I thought they would go into the library and they'd be held as a collection in the library and people could go, could request and go and look at them. And there was a sort of resistance to wanting to put them to bring them into special collections, but they sort of wanted them. So I kind of boxed them all up and I brought them to Manchester, and we staged an exhibition of them. We called it The World of Tomorrow.
Nice, good title.
Good time, which is actually taken from the New York World's Fair, which a lot of the things that New York. I'm sure your dad was familiar with the New York World's Fair.
They went to the World's Fair for inspiration in.
No, that was the one not the one in '64. The one in 1939.
Oh yeah, no, I meant later on, of course.
Yeah. The 1939 one was incredible. It covered several square miles of ground. Amazing. And they built buildings that were up for 2 years. Anyway. So we staged this exhibition called The World of Tomorrow of the books and some of the memorabilia in my collection. And we got into an argument about copyright, because whilst books in cabinets are interesting, I wanted stuff on the walls. And so I photographed some of the pieces and I did large prints on the walls. And then they were worried. It's like, oh no, Gerry Anderson Productions are going to kind of slap a copyright restriction order on us, et cetera, et cetera. And so they were very nervous about doing it. Anyway, David Crow said, it, we'll do it. And And also the by this time the material was going to the special collections, but we were still negotiating about the detail of what that would mean. And they were resistant, but we can't have our museum artifacts in an environment that's not light or air controlled, and the security isn't up to our standards, and blah, 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 because and rightly so, they are a respected international museum, and they have those standards to adhere to. So I got that. Anyway, slowly and surely it transpired. It came back to me that it wasn't a library that was interested in books. It was a museum that was interested in objects. And they treated my books as objects, which is exactly what I do. And so suddenly there was a meeting of minds, and it came about. The meeting of minds actually came about because when I realized that they were about objects and not books, I said, it then came out in conversation that I'd been collecting or trying not to throw away all of the clothes I'd been wearing since the late 60s and early punk. And I had a large collection of Vivienne Westwood clothes. And Steph, the senior curator at the Special Collection Museum, her eyes lit up and she said, we want the Vivienne Westwood. Anyway, so that kind of broke the ice. And I realized it was about objects. They realized it was about objects, and they took all of the materials. And now all of the Gerry Anderson material, not all of them, because I keep on buying more stuff, and they're running out of space. So we need a sponsor to give us more space if you're listening out there. So all of the Gerry Anderson, all of the New York World's Fair, all of the Vivienne Westwood, all of my punk things, kind of fanzines and writings and books and badges and all the punk memorabilia, posters. Also, I'm a huge Andy Warhol fanatic. Since seeing a set of 10 Marilyn screen prints in the Whitworth Art Gallery in Manchester in 1975,
nice.
Pop art and Warhol has inspired me. So I just buy every book I see about Warhol. So they all ended up going in to the Special Collections Museum, and they're now housed in a separate section called the Malcolm Garrett Collection. We're very inventive here.
Very
the
fancy.
Malcolm Garrett Collection, but it has different subsections, and obviously the subsection for Gerry Anderson is Adventures in the 21st Century,
which is that is very perfect.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. And the Warhol collection is All Tomorrow's Parties.
Nice.
New York World's Fair is of course The World of Tomorrow.
Nice.
And also I've been collecting space memorabilia. I mean, I grew up through the 60s kind of space race from Yuri Gagarin to Neil Armstrong, and so I've got a lot of American and Soviet era space memorabilia. So that's got its own section, Space Race, and that kind of embraces all of my interest in science fiction. So the collections keep on growing.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely delighted now that they have a home because the as well as them being in a place that's looking after them, they're also accessible.
Mm.
So if any of our listeners are interested in going and seeing any of the materials in my Gerry Anderson collection, all they got to do is contact Special Collections Museum and make an appointment. It's what they call a handling collection, i.e. it's accessible for students, staff, and the general public as research material to go at and look at it. You can't take it out, so it's not a library, but you can go and set aside time and spend as much time as you want with any of the objects and artifacts in the collection. So that delights me. Suddenly this stuff that was sitting on a shelf unlooked at for 20 years is now active. And we've exhibited it twice since. We exhibited it in 2012, and then we exhibited some of it again in 2017, because that sort of coincided with the 40-year anniversary of the first record sleeve I designed when I was at Manchester Polytechnic for Buzzcocks. So we did a greatest hits exhibition of items from each of the sub collections.
Sounds like a great thing, Malcolm.
Yeah, I've always been a collector, and so if I was going to pursue a second career as curator of the 60s and every aspect of what came out of it, whether it's fashion, science, media, that would be a good job for me. I'd like that. But unfortunately, there isn't one of those jobs in it, so I just do it anyway. Yeah.
You do it, yeah. You make your own career of it, or sub-career. Yeah. Brilliant. So if people do want to go to that, they can just search for Malcolm Garrett Collection online, or
or Special Collections Museum at Manchester Metropolitan University.
Fantastic.
And contact them, and yeah.
Okay.
Well, sorry, Steph, if you're going to be inundated with. but that's the point.
That's the point of it.
It's there for people, and
exactly.
And despite any practical issues of just accessibility and time and funding to support it, there is a genuine desire to have everything seen.
Yeah.
That's the point of the collection.
Well, I love that. It's brilliant because so often collections, understandably, are kept behind locked doors and very private and never get seen. So it's brilliant that you'll be doing that, Malcolm. Thank you. What are you up to currently that listeners may be able to see you doing? Works in progress, things that are due for release soon? Anything you'd like people to know about?
I guess one of the major projects I'm literally doing this very day is there's a music venue in Manchester called the Band on the Wall, and the Band on the Wall is in a it's an odd name, and it was named in the 30s specifically because it's an old pub called the George and Dragon back in the 30s, and in order to kind of maximize the drinking space, the space for drinking customers, the proprietor built a stage above the bar on the wall, sticking out of the wall, because it was still, and the band used to play literally on this stage on the wall, so it became colloquially known as the Band on the Wall. Nice. Anyway, it adopted the name full time in the 70s, I think, and it's just been going through some refurbishment, and it's going to be reopening in March. And as part of the refurbishment, they're putting 3 big digital TV screens on the outside of the building, and I've been commissioned as art director, working with a company in Manchester called Centre Screen, who do museum AV installations, and together we're creating a history of the development of Manchester through its immigrants coming into the city. Yeah, and because where the Band on the Wall is right next to Smithfield Market, a kind of it's a very historically rich part of Manchester, and it's also now the corner of what's known as the northern quarter, which is a little bit like I'll be shot for this, a little bit like Manchester's Shoreditch. It's quite trendy part of Manchester, and the Band on the Wall is the corner of the northern quarter, and I'm art directing the films that we're going to show on the side of this building.
Lovely.
And so the building reopens in March, and our target is to have the films which are a potted history of Manchester and Manchester music, the role that Manchester creativity and music and fashion have played a role in the development of the city, and by extension, what it's taken to the world, and we hope to get that finished by April.
Amazing.
So there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of history.
I bet, yeah.
I mean, I thought I knew a lot about Manchester, but I keep on finding out more things, and it's fantastic. Yeah,
it's one of the nice things about working projects like that. I've had the same with the documentary, learning more about. I thought I knew a lot about Dad's life, but I've learned more about it just by the process. So it's not lucky that we get to do these things.
It must be great meeting fanatics like me, because we'll I'm a bit older than you.
only a touch,
so I remember
Malcolm.
Stuff firsthand that you would be looking back on. I came to realize in our conversations, actually I've got some experience you don't actually have firsthand.
That's exactly it. Well, that's the great thing about these conversations is there's people who saw it in the 90s in the rerun. There's people who watched it from the very beginning, everything in between, worked on the shows, have gone on to do things related to or inspired by. And that's why I love these conversations so much.
Yeah.
Malcolm, if people want to find you online, where can they do that?
I have a website, which is called malcolmgarrett.com. Surprise. And my website is fiendishly interesting or fiendishly simple in that it's just one page of links to all the other stuff you can find about me online.
Brilliant. Okay.
I also have a Twitter account, which is @MalcolmGarrett, and I have a number of Instagram accounts. My politically orientated, this is what Malcolm says and thinks, is called Being Malcolm Garrett. The account that's specifically about what we've been talking about, the collections, is Collecting Malcolm Garrett.
Great.
And I read a lot. And my girlfriend Yana said, Malcolm, you should have an account just for the books you read. So I've recently launched Reading Malcolm Garrett. If you want to get reviews of the books that I've been reading recently, you can go there. So amazing. I kind of limit my social media to that. I've got a Wikipedia page if you want to read about me. I've got a LinkedIn page, which just exists. But really, I kind of live through the 3 Instagram accounts, I guess, because they're visual.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
They're visual with a bit of space to put some rationale for why you put that stuff, and they're quite personal. So you engage in conversations with both people you know, people you've lost touch with over the years, and people you've got to know through those connections. So I quite enjoy that.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds like
despite it being owned by Mark Zuckerberg, I still like it. Sorry, I just did the unthinkable.
That's fine. Well,
shall I cut in and say, despite it being owned by Mark Zuckerberg,
you still use it? Well, it sounds like Collecting Malcolm Garrett on Instagram is a good place for.
It's a good place to start in the context of what we've been talking about.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if not, malcolmgarrett.com and go wherever else from there.
Yeah, the links to all the accounts are on malcolmgarrett.com.
There you go. Perfect. Malcolm, I've really enjoyed our chat. I could carry on chatting to you for hours, but our time
when
is
you
up.
said at the start, we'll talk for about 45 minutes. I thought,
yeah.
Wait till you get me going. Yeah.
We'll have to have you back at some point. But Malcolm, thank you so much.
Yeah, it'd be a regular event. Yeah. It's been an absolute delight talking with you, Jamie. I've really loved it. There is something, as I say, beyond nostalgia to know that something you've had a passion for endures like this, and it's been really, it's been fantastic to meet you and kind of share that back with the originators, if you like.
Well, Malcolm, thank you so much for the chat. Most enjoyable, most informative, I would say.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
If you would like to continue being interested by Malcolm and all that he has to say and do and offer, then you can follow him on Twitter at Malcolm Garrett, or Images Co., which is his company, or on Instagram at Being Malcolm Garrett, or go to his website, malcolmgarrett.com.
Crikey.
Many which ways. He's also, I think, as he mentioned on the interview, got all sorts of multiple Instagram feeds. He sort of keeps a record of everything that he's reading and doing and writing, and so they're all,
nice.
Designing Malcolm Garrett, being Malcolm Garrett, reading Malcolm Garrett, or whatever that sort of thing. So,
wow.
Yeah, you get all sorts of facets of Malcolm's life there. What a nice chap.
Oh, God, I wish I had more than one facet to show off. I barely got one, to be honest.
Yeah, and if you start showing off the other one, you get arrested. So let's not do that.
Well, yes. No.
Anyway, there you go. That's Malcolm.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what next week's interview is because
199, right?
Because I don't actually know what it is. I think I know actually because I recently interviewed said person/people.
Okay.
But yes, more in 199, but not Malcolm because Malcolm's done for now.
Yeah, fair enough. Great. Right, now, just before we head on over to Chris Dale for his amazing randomiser, I'd just like to catch up on what people have been saying about us on Twitter.
Oh, no, really?
No, it's all fine. Now, you can hashtag us Gerry Anderson Podcast. You can tag me, Richard N. James, him over there, I'm Jamie Anderson, or him over there, that's a huge pile of chocolate he's now, and rappers everywhere, that's Chris Dalek.
Yes, but I see what he's doing.
Oh, really? Oh, well. But for now, over on Twitter, now Time Bomb Comics tweeted recently, "Hey, Gerry Anderson fans, click here to be notified when Spectrum, a new comic, launches on Kickstarter, an anthology from us, Anderson Entertainment, and starring new Captain Scarlet, Terrorhawks, and Space Precinct." And they included a link there where you can sign up to the Kickstarter fundraiser. Dr. Tok tweeted, "I'm very excited about this. My introduction to comics was Gerry Anderson's TV21, so it's great to see the tradition extending into the 21st century. Time Bomb Comics do great work."
Absolutely.
Which bodes well, doesn't it?
They certainly do. It's lovely.
Yeah. Now, Gerry Anderson TV Twitter account, I don't know if you're familiar with that, tweeted earlier today, our not-so-top-secret agent, Jamie Anderson, was at Derby Velodrome with Jason Kenny for the launch of the new Thunderbird cycling range. Really?
Yes, Sir Jason Kenny, I thank you very much.
Well, that's not part of his Twitter handle, though. Is it?
No, it's not. I suppose he got the Twitter handle before he became a Sir.
I suppose he might have done, yes. Yeah. Did you have a go on the bikes while you were there?
Absolutely not, no.
Oh, really? Oh.
If you see how steep the banks are in those velodromes, no
really?
way, not a chance. But I watched the GB men's cycling team doing their morning sort of practice.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. It's sort of bizarrely hypnotic.
I should imagine it is, yes. And quick as well. Was it over very quickly?
Well, they were doing sort of increasing speed things over some time. But anyway, it was really fascinating, and there's a partnership we've been doing with Hoob, H-U-U-B. So if you are a mammal, a middle-aged man in Lycra, or any other human being in Lycra who likes a bit of cycling, then the Thunderbirds range that they've got is fantastic. We're working on more stuff with them right now. Right. Some very cool stuff to come. And I believe that Hoob are hoping to host, sponsor and host a screening of A Life Uncharted in Derby in the coming months as well. So
lovely.
Looking forward to that. So yes, Dean and his team there are absolutely brilliant, and they love Anderson stuff so much. There's some great stuff to come there, and I really like partnerships like that because they go outside of the usual. It's not just some T-shirts or some DVDs or some CDs or books, but sports specific apparel. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I saw someone tweet, that's a bit niche. But you think, well, why not?
It's why not, though. It's not.
Why not go? That's right.
It's it's funny, isn't it? Once you're in the niche, you think it's big. But if it's niche outside of your niche, you think it's niche.
True enough. Bernie Hollywood tweeted, are there plans to have more than one concert, as I will sadly miss the Birmingham concert due to my 300-mile, 30-day boat pull at MOD Lynham from the 1st to 30th of April? I would love to have some inspirational Gerry Anderson theme music played during this time.
Well, it will be played, but just not with you there, Bernie. Sorry. Now, there are currently no plans to extend it. It's just a one-night only thing, but you never know in the future. But at least now you do know that there will be a soundtrack and the DVD and Blu-ray version in due course. So
yes, but probably not ready for the probably not ready for the end of his 30-day boat pull on the 30th of April. Though, I suspect. No. Modeler 5 says, along with the Get a Machine model kits, I've started a new project building the Captain Scarlet Supersonic Combat Fighter Angel Interceptor model kit. Which is a bit of a mouthful. Look forward to seeing the results of that. Thoroughly Thapson tweeted, there have been fantastic use of puppets in some great movies, but Gerry Anderson created the coolest ones in Thunderbirds Are Go in 1966. Island of Misfit Poise says, we've been watching all the old Gerry Anderson productions and the Secret Service is super cool. That's always nice, isn't it? And finally, for now, over on Twitter, Claire Wright said, we've got an original Zelda puppet head from Terrahawks in hubby's vast Gerry Anderson collection.
Oh, nice.
How do you now? Do let us know if you have anything original and screen used in your collection. Send it in to podcast@gerryanderson.com or tweet it or put it on our Facebook group and I'll read it out next time.
Lovely. Yes, we love it when you share your Ander shelves or Ander collections or whatever the other thing is. Whatever stimulates your Ander gland. Anyway, now, Richard, Chris is ready for the big reveal.
Oh, right, okay, I'm looking forward to this.
We thought that he was searching for a golden ticket, but it turns out that's not true at all. He was melting down all that chocolate.
Why?
And he's about to pull the mould off something rather special.
Is he?
Here it comes down now. Oh my goodness.
Look at that. That's incredible.
It's you and me.
Isn't that lovely?
As if we were frozen in carbonite, but made out of chocolate.
Yeah, that's right. That's beautiful.
Two worlds I never thought would meet. Star Wars and the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Good work, Chris.
But it does feel a bit sinister and threatening that he's done that, is he?
Yeah. Does that mean I can eat your head now?
Yes, and I mean, I suppose I'll end up eating your foot.
Yeah, go for it.
Lucky me. Anyway, now Chris has done that amazing work of chocolate art. Let's hand over to him for his randomizer.
Professor McLean!
All right, just coming.
Ah, there you are.
It's 5 a.m.
Is it? My word, so it is. I didn't realise it was so early, did you, Marina?
Oh, sure.
Well, anyway, now that I'm here, any chance of helping me with the randomizer?
How do you mean?
Oh, pressing the button and all that.
There can't be more than half a dozen men with the knowledge to tackle a job like this.
Thank you. Well, you say that, and yet somehow we're coming up on pod 200.
You're crazy. Will someone please tell me what's going on?
I know, right? Anyway, we've still got a few weeks to go, so how about telling us what we have today?
Rat trap?
Oh, excellent. Here's new Captain Scarlet.
Yes, quite exciting.
So, welcome back to the Randomiser, new Captain Scarlet. I can't remember the last time we saw him on the Randomiser. It would only take a moment's work to look that up, but I can't be bothered, because I want to talk about Rat Trap.
Space. There could be a major communications problem, but
the title being, of course, a nod to one of the greatest Anderson series of all time.
Colonel, touchdown at Base Elysium in 42 minutes.
Be careful. There are 10 Spectrum personnel there.
And they're mean.
Volunteer. God knows what may have happened to them.
We'll do whatever has to be done, Colonel.
So, there's a base? A Spectrum base?
Don't really have a chance, do they?
On Mars.
They cleared the scientists out of Elysium when the Mysterons declared war. I don't care if our guys were volunteers. They were sitting ducks, just waiting for the Mysterons to hit them.
I've got no sympathy for anyone on that base. It's a rather callous disregard for human life from Harmony there. But, this is a great episode. And even when first seeing it, this felt like a serious step up from the first 3 episodes, which, of course, it kind of is, and it kind of isn't, because it was broadcast as episode 4. I think it's included as episode 4 on most home video releases, but it wasn't made as episode 4. I think it would be like episode 7 or 8. Which was just brought forward in the running order because it looks so good. And there's, lovely shots of...
We're under attack!
The Spectrum space shuttle in Mars orbit.
Don't need missiles. That's our base firing at us.
And the Martian service looks so pretty.
20 seconds to impact!
But we're under attack. Because, of course...
It's gonna be a rough ride.
It's new Captain Scarlet. We're only 1 minute into the story. There's got to be a high-octane chase or attack, as we have here. Yep, the shuttle is hit.
Control! Just hold on to her!
Expert piloting advice from Destiny there. Don't let go of the controls! But very nice to see both Destiny and Harmony at the controls of this thing, while the boys are strapped in the back, hoping that the girls can get them down safely. Which they can, kind of. Oh, did we need that engine? Nah, probably not. Oh, and this is good as well.
Destiny!
They're down, but they're out of control, heading right towards the edge of a cliff. What's Destiny going to do to save them? Well, not much. They,
Welcome to Mars.
They just ran out of momentum before they get to the edge.
Hey, ask me when...
But I'm sure Destiny would take the credit for it somehow.
Crash landed on another planet before.
We're all in one piece, Destiny. Nice job.
I'll check the hold.
Since nobody around here appreciates the fact that I was the co-pilot of that particular landing.
Of this shuttle ever taken to the sky.
But of course, it's all about Destiny.
The only chance of survival is Base Elysium.
Which, from the look of the welcome, must be under Mysteron control.
Oh.
It'll take 2 weeks for another rescue mission to get here. We don't have that much oxygen.
So we take back what's ours.
Oh, he's so cool. He's so cool there. I mean, admittedly, a lot of the bull in a china shop characterization of CGI Captain Blue, it wasn't so much wearing at times, but occasionally it was a bit sort of, okay, just calm down. But in moments like that, when it's justified...
Bison out.
You want to bet on that?
He's awesome, and this is awesome too. We can't get the doors of the space shuttle open to release the Bison. Well, let's not worry about opening the doors, we'll just go straight through them. And yes, this is a return to Mars. The first time the series returned to Mars.
Hostile, but kind of beautiful.
A hellish beauty. Wasn't that how your father described it, Scarlet, when he took the first step?
He didn't know how right he was.
Oh, and a reminder of...
Hey, Paul?
I'm fine.
It's the first time you've been here since...
Adam, I'm fine.
Yes, not only his history with the Mysterons, but his family's history with the Mysterons. And there's another Bison. But I do feel that long-time fans of the original series always wanted some kind of return to Mars. So I'm very grateful that that's something the CGI show did, not once, but like 3 or 4 times. Yes, it's a Spectrum Bison from Base Elysium. With fogged up windows, that's a lovely touch. Because inside, there's a...
I guess I spoke too soon.
2 or 3 guys. But they're not going anywhere.
They ran out of oxygen, exhausted the onboard supply, got into their suits and used that up.
What on earth were they doing this far out? Pointing the wrong way from base? With no oxygen?
The question is, what was it at Elysium they were running away from?
It does a wonderful job, this episode, of building tension as we make these little gradual discoveries, leading to this rather lovely little Elysium base model. The CGI, as I think I've said before in the early episodes, is good, but not great.
Looks dead.
But the stuff on Mars always looks good.
Adam, you're with me. Doc, you're with the Angels.
Oh, thanks for nothing. Although I will say, and it's a point that I struggle with in this episode, sometimes when they're out on the lunar surface, it is difficult to distinguish who's who. I know they've got the colour on the captains at least have got colours on their helmets and chests and shoulders, but when you're seeing them in a long shot, it's a bit tricky to tell who's who, and that's going to be a slight problem later on. Anyway, Blue got the door to the base open. Very, very big door.
Motion sensors. Saves energy.
I guess that means no one's moving around here then.
Someone blew us out of the sky, remember?
And a nice subtle-ish sight of a Skyrider, the flying Spectrum bike things.
Repressurizing.
And a nice base interior as well. The logo on the doors, though, and please someone correct me, it looks a bit Transformers related, and I'm not a Transformers fan or historian or know anything about it other than well, I guess the theme song really, but that symbol on the door looks, oh boy, it looks like something Transformers related. I wonder if it's a nod to that. Anyway, there's some dead bodies in the control room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of whom looks a lot like Captain Blue. What's Dr. Gold's prognosis?
As you can see, multiple causes of death. Some were blasted by a laser. 3 have almost every bone in their bodies broken, as if trampled by elephants. Others, well, they've simply been cut to shreds.
Oh, it's Technician Monkey Man lying on the slab.
A missile attack.
Oh, that figure gets around. But yeah, listen to that description again.
Keep looking, Doc. We need to know what we're up against.
For a Saturday morning kids show.
One of my specializations, but...
It's insane that they would get this stuff into the series. Scarlet's walking back now. What's he going to hear? Oh, it's a lovely moment. And the Scarlet figure reacts so quickly and so believably.
What about communications?
Fried.
Can you fix it?
Put it this way. I sure hope Destiny's having better luck with the base shuttle. Otherwise, you're looking at home for the next 2 weeks.
Tell me something to make me smile, girls.
You're in the wrong place, Paul.
We're all in the wrong place.
Shuttle system.
But that dialogue exchange and the character of the facial animation there made me think on first broadcast that this was about to become a different kind of story. And oddly enough, that story was eventually told much later in Syrtis Major. I thought the story was going to go down the route of they're all at each other's throats because the Mysterons are going to do something to the air or whatever. So I was pleasantly surprised that this episode didn't go that route, but then also pleasantly surprised when Syrtis Major came along and did that very thing, and did it so well. Anyway, Scarlet and the girls are now out on the Martian surface, and Harmony... Something's got hold of her leg. And the Scarlet just starts shooting the ground, because why not? Well, let's let Harmony go, and there it is! Oh, huge spider drone robot thing. It's such a shock, and it's such a gorgeous design. Instantly believable as Earth technology, consistent with what we've seen in this show, but also it's got the green eyes of the Mysterons, and every single limb has got a gun or a saw, and the limbs have got limbs attached to those, and oh.
You okay?
It's a gorgeous creation.
What is that thing?
It's a rat.
I think I can keep it busy while you two make a run for it.
Oh, it wasn't even going to let them finish that conversation. It's normally in most shows the bad robot would let them have their little chat, but now he was like peering over the rock. So, what are you guys doing? Can I saw your faces off? Oh. And yeah, that's Harmony taking a massive knock to the back of the head. But Scarlet... Oh, that's it. I think he's defeated it. Or not. Oh no, because he thinks he's got it on its back, but of course it's self-righting. And it's not happy. And again, classic example of a story that the original series could never have told. Outside of the pages of TV21, there were several robots on the rampage type stories in that. But, Destiny has to stay till the last moment to shoot the door controls. Everyone's back in, but of course the killer rat thing...
Remote acquisition technology.
Still outside.
It's used for work in hostile environments. Built of titanium armor plating, this thing can climb inside a volcano and dig out rock samples.
Again, I love that it's not just an evil robot that someone built. It was designed to do good and be helpful.
A home improvement robot.
A top specification killing machine under the control of the Mysterons.
And this thing fired that missile?
This hand, the one that grabbed Destiny, is as dexterous as a human's.
Oh, it was Destiny he was after. Okay.
Can do anything they want it to.
I'm afraid oxygen starvation when her life support was destroyed has plunged Harmony into a coma. This equipment I can keep her
I don't like this. Harmony's great. I want to see more of her, not unconscious.
How long?
2 weeks at the most.
It'll take that long just for a rescue mission to get here.
I'll do everything I can. But it's probably irrelevant with that thing out there.
You know, Doctor, your bedside manner really stinks.
Ooh.
Foundationless optimism has never been my strong point.
Then watch and learn, Doctor.
I can give you a masterclass in foundationless optimism.
Unit on the bird we came in on. If it wasn't damaged in the crash, I might be able to get this one's systems back online.
Well, that means going back to the crash site.
You got a better idea?
Paul, according to the monitoring systems, airlock number 2 just let somebody, or something, into the base.
Oh. Well, I guess it's Operation Mindless Optimism from Destiny.
So our weapons had no effect on this thing, right?
It's titanium armor plated.
Well, I hope you've got a plan.
According to the schematics, its CPU is housed on top of its body. If I can get on it, I can fix a charge.
Uh-huh. How are you gonna do that?
Well, I was planning to use you as bait.
Oh, nice.
And some very nice, very subtle facial animations in this episode. I was noticing that earlier. Again, Blue as a design is a bit of it can be a bit of a brick of a character, but there's some nice facial expressions on him here. He's now been, well, he's in the freezer, waiting to be the bait. What I love is the...
It's damn cold down here.
I think the robot's already there.
Stay alert.
And it's there in plain sight. Just sitting on a barrier thingy, on a pipe. Oh, but that's a nice running thread as well.
Hear that?
What?
Did you hear that voice?
Scarlet keeps on getting distracted. Yes, the robot was right there in plain sight, waiting for the Mysterons to distract Scarlet so it could jump on Blue. And Scarlet's jumped on its back. Yeah, again, it's a wonderful image. Scarlet wrestling a robot. You'd never get this in the original. Oh, nearly takes a point-blank shot to the face. And now, oh... Yes, it's pulled out a circular saw, trying to cut Captain Blue's face off.
Oh, remember, I'm not indestructible!
No, but of course, Scarlet's got one of those amazing 10-second grenade things. Although it's asking a lot of Blue to survive not getting his face cut off and then not getting caught in the explosion for a whole 10 seconds. But they've done it. They killed the rat. Everything's going to be okay.
Next time, you play bait.
But there's 4 minutes to go.
Paul, look.
There's another one.
I love the weary resignation in that voice there. Oh, there's another one. Great. Yes, it's numbered rat trap number 2.
How's it going, Paul?
I found the tracker system. This is where the scientists control the rats from, and...
What is it?
The other rat. It's gone after Destiny.
Oh well, never mind. Yes, Destiny had taken the Bison to go back to their shuttle for some reason I've forgotten. Scarlet's going after it on his Skyrider thingy.
Stay there! You got company!
And she looks around the room. Oh my goodness, she's clueless. But that's a lovely shot of the Skyrider tearing across the Martian surface, and you just see the sun rising over the horizon. It's gorgeous. And there it is. Rat number 1 is on the hull. Again, I love that it seems like an intricate plan on the part of the Mysterons. They didn't throw both of the rats at Spectrum at once. They could have done, but they like to have their plans in stages. And it's now breached the shuttle hull, so Destiny's got a helmet on. But who's come to save the day?
You heap of junk!
It's Scarlet on the Skyrider. That is what they're called, isn't it? Skyriders. I do hope I'm getting that right. They were so rarely used after all. Even after all these years, I still quite don't always remember the names of vehicles in this show. And a very nice shot of the rat leaping towards Scarlet's Skyrider as he tries to lure it away. Unfortunately, leading to a...
Paul, no!
I hate that shot of Destiny. I hate that reaction. I hate everything about that. Oh no! Paul! Oh, but this is cool. He's crashed the Skyrider as it was weighed down by the rat. Over the edge of a volcano. He's just about hanging on. Oh. And that always makes me wince, that sudden music sting, because the rat has clamped its hand onto his leg and is pulling itself back up from the abyss. He was so close to getting rid of the thing.
You are ours. We made you, and we will destroy you.
Oh, again, I love that. I love that reminder of what Scarlet is. This is the world where our hero was reborn. It's great that the show didn't forget that. But there we go. Boom. Scarlet's blasted the rock that the rat was holding onto, and the rat has fallen into the lava. Ah, bye-bye, Ratty.
Need a hand?
Oh, good. Where were you? You were useless. Oh, well, time to go home. I guess we've got all the scientists' bodies in the back.
Just a few seconds. Then we'll know if we're in business.
You know, I remember watching my father on TV, taking those first steps on Mars. All I ever wanted to do was follow him there.
And now?
I wonder if we should ever have come here.
More gorgeous facial animations there.
Getting back there.
We're fine, Captain.
Oh, poor Harmony, still unconscious.
Okay, ignition systems back online.
Hooray for me.
Fire.
Good. Then let's get off this rock.
Ah, and that's it. Everything's sorted out. I assume the bodies of the scientists are in the back. It would be rather unfortunate if they just left those behind. But as the Spectrum space shuttle flies away, that was Rat Trap. And what a wonderful early episode of New Captain Scarlet. What a fabulous return to Mars. That alone would be enough to make this story a classic. So the fact that when they get there, they have this wonderful, very realistic and yet also very sci-fi threat to deal with is just wonderful. Some fantastic stuff with the rat there, some fantastic reminders of Scarlet's Mysteron heritage, and I believe, in fact, if you want to watch this episode, you can watch it for free now on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel.
Ooh,
New Captain Scarlet.
And the rat is such a cool thing. Love that. Yeah, excellent. Well, it's nice for new Captain Scarlet to get an outing there. And of course, you'll be able to hear the theme from that. Specially arranged by Crispin Morel, with Crispin Morel playing in it on his pianoforte.
Oh, wonderful.
At Standby for Action. It's
great.
So cool that all the tunes are going to get played together. I cannot wait.
I mean, is new Captain Scarlet himself going to be there, do you think? Might Captain Scarlet be at the concert?
As in Wayne Forrester?
Yes.
I believe Wayne Forrester is coming, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those themes that we hear will be represented by people who appeared in the shows.
Well,
that's two, isn't it, for a start?
I can tell you, not very many.
I mean, the Space Precinct and new Captain Scarlet covered.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I think David Holt might be coming.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Lavender Castle.
Yeah, great. Nice.
Now, technically, I suppose John Coleshaw obviously is playing Jeff and Parker. That's Thunderbird's kind of covered.
Kind of covered,
I hope that Mark Silk will come, which means that's Stingray and XL5 because he's playing Zodiac. Now, as you see, so we're getting there.
That's good, yeah. And Martin... too late for Martin Landau.
Oh, no, that's a bit dark.
Sorry.
Goodness me. No, we'll see who turns up. Hopefully there'll be some very special guests. No, Brian is not coming. No.
I think if he did, you'd know, wouldn't you?
If he is there, we'll definitely hear about it. Anyway, look, that's the end of this week's podcast, isn't it? We've got things to be doing. We're very busy. We've got things to get ready for the live podcast. Goodness me, we hope we'll see you there. But yes, email us at podcast@gerryanderson.com and let us know where we're going to see you, whether it be online or in person, and in which particular location, at which particular event across this Gerry Anderson Day crazy weekender and all this amazing stuff in Birmingham. I hope to see many of you there and to thank you all for being such wonderful Podstrons and Anderfans.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait. Right, shall we go? We've got work to do.
Yeah, come on then, let's be about it.
Okay, off we go. Goodbye.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
If you were presented with a model of yourself, let's say, in frozen chocolate carbonite.
Oh, yeah. Which bit would you eat first?
Yes,
is that what you're going to ask?
Absolutely.
I don't think I'd want to eat it at all.
We can't keep it forever because then it'll do that horrible thing when it gets old and all the fat comes to the surface and goes all white and marbly.
Yeah, but I'd just like to keep it in the fridge and take it out when people came round.
How big's
like I do
your
with my... you're talking life size?
It's full size.
Oh, I see. Where would I... Crikey, that's a lot of eating to be done. I think I'd open my doors to the local community so everyone could come and have a bit of Richard James.
It's only fair. Yeah, okay, fine. Well,
it's only what everyone wants.
If I had one, I'd bring it to the live podcast recording and we'd all chow down on that afterwards.
Well, that's a bit weird, but okay.
Well, the whole thing is weird. This whole podcast is weird. If you want to avoid it, then I suggest that you leave now. So
yeah, well, we're an hour and 40 minutes in, so if you've got this far, then you've got everything coming that you deserve. Right?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Anyway, I look forward to meeting your chocolate replica very soon. That sounds like a terrible euphemism, and I'm never going to say it again. Goodbye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.